Hey friend, if you were around last weekend, I was painting some popsicles because I'm still in the summer mood and tomatoes felt right to me today. So we're still kind of in the summery early fall vibe with our bright cherry tomatoes. I'm gonna be talking about composition, I'm gonna be talking about balance and tipping point, all really fun things, sneak peeks that of really in-depth broken down things that I break down in my course, The Art Within, that we'll also talk about a little bit in this video. But if you need help with composition or you just want a little quick tutorial of how to paint cherry tomatoes and something a little bit summery, then let's dive in. So for my summery, late summer vibe cherry tomatoes, I'm gonna be using my size 6 round brush, 4050 from the Princeton Heritage 4050 series. And I'm gonna be going between a mixture of primary red by itself, and then sometimes primary red with permanent orange. These are all my Mary Blue colors, but like a cadmium orange and a Scarlet Lake vibe. And then also, so primary red by itself, primary red with orange, and then also primary red, orange, and pink. So there's gonna be a couple different mixtures for my tomato color. It's just nice to keep the piece a little bit more interesting with color since it's such a simple subject matter. We're just having a spattering of tomatoes like on a little table, let's pretend. And I'm using the size 6 brush because we're doing cherry tomatoes, so I want them to be smaller circles. And I'm gonna use a vertical hold, plant the edge of my wrist on the table, and swirl the brush around with my fingers. That's gonna give you the smoothest outside outline for your circles for the tomatoes. So anytime you're painting a stroke like this where it's a circle, you want to just swirl it. You want to plant your wrist on the table and just swirl it around with your fingers. You don't want to be up here and all shaky. You want to be planted, pressing, and swirling. That's the best brush hold for a smooth outline for your circle shapes. And then I'll maybe do another cherry tomato that has a little bit of yellow in it and is a slightly lighter value, and we'll come down here and we'll just kind of do different sizes, different values, and different hues for each tomato and kind of just sprinkle it around. We can have tomatoes that are right next to each other and bleed into one another, which is gonna be cute. But I just wanna pretend like I just took a handful or a couple handfuls of cherry tomatoes and just like went plop and they just scattered. So the idea is to kind of flow around here, but I'm gonna bounce in a zigzag as I go across. I'll maybe put something up here. It's kind of like a little lone wolf. And some of these tomatoes will have white on them. Some of them won't, or like a little negative space. Some of them will have the green parts on them, the little stem and leaves. And others won't, and it'll be cute and simple, but also really meditative to paint because you're just like swirling around. So every once in a while, just kind of doing these clusters to get some of those blooms happening with the little bleeds. And that will allow for the more cherry tomatoes I add, that'll allow for dry time for these ones. So I can, when I'm done with all my tomatoes, I can go back with my green. You want some thicker consistencies, some thin ones. This is what creates movement and eye-catching moments in our pieces that are more simple subject matter, simple arrangements and compositions. We want to focus on the color and focus on little stunner moments like the little bleeds. So I'm looking at where my light values are placed, where my small tomatoes are placed so that they're not all clustering together. I'm making sure that they're more sporadic and spread out. And it'll also come together a lot more once the green is on these tomatoes. Really pulls it together. But if you don't like placement of something, there's always a way to balance it too when you have less going on. Like I might stretch this corner up a little higher so this doesn't create this box line right here. I'm gonna do another tomato, I guess, over here. Change it. By tipping and balance point and composition, S-curve, all this stuff is stuff that I cover in my foundations course, The Art Within. It's like going to art school at a fraction of the price. All the lessons are condensed in one spot, so you don't have to hop around YouTube finding lessons on perspective or composition, S-curve, and my teachings on quadrants and all of that. And it's much more in depth than what I can cover here in these videos on YouTube. So if you need like a foundations breakdown of all of the rules of composition and perspective, color theory, all of it, then go check out The Art Within. Okay, so I've got a nice spattering of these circles. I wanted to do less, but I always get carried away, especially if I'm teaching. That's fine. So here we are. So we've got kind of a nice S-curve. We've got stretching opposing corners. I'll probably add a few more here and there, but now we're gonna go back and we're gonna mix up our green. I'm gonna use sap green and green gold together for a little bit of a yellowy green and in a creamy consistency. And then I'll also do a dark green, like sap green with Prussian blue and some black. So I'll go over on top of the ones that are dry. Some of these green stems are gonna be fully exposed. Some of them are just gonna be a little dot. Some I'll place the leaves on top of the color or on the top or side. Because again, all of your tomatoes will be in different positions. So the main idea though is like a starfish. Like you wanna point to the center, and I'm using the tip of my size 6 brush at a 75-degree hold and just light. It's not completely dry, but it will. You wanna wait till it's all dry so it doesn't get blurry like this one. Now I'm mixing up a darker green, so not all my greens are the same, not all of my reds are the same. And we'll just give it a little mohawk for this one. Just keep it cutesy. Keep it cutesy. Do another one. You won't be able to see the green on top of the dark reds very well, so, you know, keep that in mind. Just using the tip of the brush. Maybe on top of this one while it's still wet, because that'd be a fun little bleed, but you don't want to go in here. So just a little bit of that bleed is nice, and the creamier your green is, the less it will bleed. And not all of them need to have full-blown stems and leaves. Like you can just do a little dot for some of them. Like maybe this guy. And we'll do some more yellow green. Is cute. The stem and little offshooties. Tomatoes. So now it doesn't look like bubbles anymore, it looks like tomatoes. You know? So that's cool. Tomatoes. And not all of these need stems and leaves. These two are pointing the same way, so I'm going to counterbalance that with this way. That's close by. Tomatoes. And maybe a couple more. One over here. Let's do like a dish. No overthinking. Keeping it cutesy and simple. Having fun. So everything from the stem and where it's pointing, the colors, the shape and size, those are all helping to create the flow of the piece and determine, you know, where people start to match up and find patterns. If they do, this would be a pattern. So I'm even gonna go down here and make it more broken up with another guy. And one more here. Let's do this way. And I'll call it a day on our tomatoes. I want to grow a cherry tomato vine in my garden. So this is inspiring me to get back into my gardening. And I hope you had fun. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had fun painting cherry tomatoes. You could do this a million times and never get bored, in my opinion. So obviously we talked about color, we talked about composition. If you need a lot more in-depth, broken down stuff on those topics like composition, S curve, C curve, and way more things that I didn't even discuss today, then check out my course, The Art Within. It breaks all of that stuff down into really in-depth lessons inside of art school. And then also we have style school inside of The Art Within as well. That's gonna teach you how to develop your own style as an artist. Check it out. If you're new to watercolor or you need brushing up on the techniques and all the important info on all things watercolor, then make sure to check out my free video on this channel called The Complete Beginner's Guide to Watercolor. It also comes with a free ebook. If you just send us your email, then we'll know exactly where to send the ebook to, and that's all you need from us to receive the free ebook. It's 40 pages. It's super in-depth. Why wouldn't you like it? Go check it out. We'll link to it here, and I'll see you in the next video.